Hey everyone, welcome to another 5-Minute Friday. Today we're going to jump into the topic of visuals and visualizing our data. So this is part 4 of our report series that we have been going through. We've gone through how to go through different report types, how to group our data together. We've touched a little bit on how to create some visuals around it, but today is a much deeper dive on that, especially as we look at what are called dashboards in Salesforce. So a dashboard in Salesforce is simply a compilation of different reports onto one thing, but it has some really cool tips and tricks that we can share with you. And it's a really powerful tool that can quickly give you some deep insights into what's going on in Salesforce. So with that, let's jump in. All right, let's jump back in. So starting with the report we worked with from last week's session, which is our applications by term and status report. As you can see here, we have what is called a report chart. So a report chart allows you to visualize your data, and depending on how you're grouping your data together, you can group it in different ways visually. One of the things that you'll notice here is that I can go to the chart properties, and with this chart that I have here, and I can do this whether I'm in the editor or in the reports run screen, I could go ahead and visualize this data in different ways. So for example, if I wanted to make this a donut chart, I would be able to see the different segments. I could make a chart title, and I can combine small groups into others. So for example, if you have a bunch of ones or twos, you can kind of group it into this other kind of category to make your report look a little clean. You can show the totals in this. And so forth. And you can, depending on your type of report, whether it be a scatter plot or perhaps it's a funnel, depending on the data and the way you're grouping it, you may have a different grouping or options right within this view. But what I want to really spend some time on today is talking about, okay, well, we can have a number of report charts, but there's something within Salesforce called a dashboard. And a dashboard allows you to group a number of these reports together, but also gives you some additional visual options as well. So with that, let's go ahead and navigate to our dashboards. I can go ahead and go to that here. You could also find it within the app launcher right here as well by just simply typing in dashboard. But once I navigate to the dashboard, similar to what we discussed before, there are folders that can hold these dashboards. And just to give you an idea of a existing dashboard that we have here, this one is a sample recruiter dashboard. And what you can see in this dashboard as it runs is that you have a number of different containers here, which are just simply visualizations of different reports. One of the things that's really important to understand is that the reports have to exist first. Once those reports are there, even if they have a different visual, then you can put together a dashboard. Now you'll notice when I come here that it gives you a view as. So who are you viewing this data as? Because for example, the idea of my and the records I have access to as deputy director might be different if I was an enrollment counselor. I would see my specific items if I were viewing this very same dashboard. You see that this was last refreshed 5 days ago. So if you don't auto refresh this and you first come to the screen, one of the first things you always want to do is click the refresh button here. It'll requery the data in the report and it'll show you the most recent time that it was refreshed. Down here, you can see the specific items, the specific links to these reports. So if I click any of these, it would take me to the report and the specific details within that report. Now, if I go ahead and want to make my own dashboard, or let's go ahead and just walk through the few steps of that. So the first step that I would do here, if I go back to dashboards, I can go new dashboard. And then you just want to be declarative in what you're making this. So this is a sample dashboard. Similar to reports, you can make this private, public, share it with certain groups. I'm just going to keep this as private for now, and I'm going to hit create. Once I do that, you kind of see this open grid here. And the different report charts that we're going to be adding are what are called components. So once I click the component, you can see the recent reports that I have accessed. But similar to the other report navigation menu, I can kind of dive deeper if I know there's certain reports that I'm looking for to pull into this. But let's go ahead and pull in the applications by term and status report. I can now hit select. And what it's going to do is it's going to show us the visual that we already have in this example for this particular report. Now, if I were to change this visual, it's not going to actually change the report chart. It's just going to change the way it appears in this particular dashboard. A couple of unique components that exist in a dashboard that aren't available in report charts are things like displaying a number. So if you simply just wanted to show a number value, a really common example of this is show me the total number of admits for the fall. Show me the total number of submitted apps by the fall. And each one of these could be different components on the screen. So you just have a snapshot in the total number. Another unique kind of display here is a gauge report. So where you can kind of set a goal and have a gauge to your total goal. And that is something, if you've used Classic, that may look a little bit familiar, but that is unique to this type of dashboard. Another one too is you can actually we talked earlier about tabular reports. You could just display a list here. So if you just simply wanted to show a detailed list as a component on your dashboard, it allows you to use this element right here, which is not going to give you any sort of visual other than just a list of particular contacts from that report or applications in this case. Let's go ahead and go back to the report type that we were using, which was a stack bar. And you can see here that we can control what's on the X and Y axis. We can stack by a certain item. We can control whether or not we want to display the shortened number. And then we can customize the length of the axis accordingly if we wanted to. If we wanted to stack to 100, which is helpful when you're doing things like conversion reports and things of that nature, that's what that effect would do, where essentially you can see out of 100%, within each one of these, what is the percent count. So that can be a helpful item in some capacity. And you can see here that you can use the full number, and you can really kind of, depending on what type of data you're dealing with, control to display units in different ways. So let's go ahead and just save this though and add what we have. Now, once we've added this total, it's just a drag and drop feature. So I can make this as big or as small as I would like. So as the director, if this was your most important report, you can make this all the way across. And then underneath, you could have kind of smaller kind of boxes of different components if you wanted as well. So as an example, if I wanted to now add another component where I'm going to add applicants submitted in the last 90 days, and I wanted to display this as a number, like we talked about, in this case it's 0, but you kind of get the idea here now that I have just a quick snapshot underneath each one of these components. Let me add one other component here. If I wanted to add perhaps open tasks, and I wanted to do this in more of a list view type of component, just to give you a visual of what's there, and I wanted to kind of drag this over. Now I can edit within here to display how many here, but I just kind of wanted to give you a quick visual of open tasks, and this would be controlled. The columns here would be controlled with what was set up in the report. But if I just want to quickly hit save here, what's going to happen as soon as I save this and hit done is now this visual kind of goes away, and I can kind of get an idea of what shows here. So the nice thing about this is you're like, don't really like that, want to kind of move things around. You can quickly just go back into the edit mode here, make this kind of even as an example, if you wanted to do that, and make both of these the same size. And save. Once you have that, then you can go accordingly. Now, the other thing I just wanted to mention here is that another neat component of a dashboard is the ability to add a filter that you can apply to the entire dashboard. So if I were to click the filter button here, this is where it's going to look at some of these different items from some of the reports on your page right now. But if I wanted to search for the term field as an example, or term start date, which is from this report here, I could filter by that. The most common, I would say, filter that I often see is like, let's say admission status. So let's say you decide to use admission status as the filter for all of these items. And that one's not going to pull just because it's not in all of these reports that we have here. But if you wanted to use admission status, and let's say you had, a total number of reports. So let's say you had all applicants for fall, all applicants for winter, all applicants for spring. Within the filter component, once you have added that, you can quickly just filter and segment that data even further. So that's a really powerful way that if you have common types of reports on one dashboard, that you can share that accordingly. So there's a whole lot that you can unpack here. Really the foundations start with having a good report, visualizing that report, and then having this dashboard built. One other thing I just want to mention real quick is you can actually add a dashboard component. So we have this component here, which is called applications by term and status, which is the report chart. But I could also add an entire dashboard on the homepage as well as a component. So if you just wanted that to be the only thing that a certain type of person saw, you certainly could do that as you visualize your data. All right, so that was a start at building visuals with reports. There's a whole lot more you can do, obviously, with reports and how you can visualize your data. But really the intent, as we review today, is how can you start to leverage dashboards? How can you start to put those components together? So I would encourage you that as you start to put together some of these reports, maybe some existing reports, start to put together a sample dashboard, drag and drop some data onto there, experiment around on different ways you could display this data in a way that makes the most sense to you. The idea, again, with a dashboard is to have quick insights into actionable items. So you can provide reports to your peers, your executives and stakeholders, as well as to maybe people you work with where you need to take quick action. So maybe the number of started apps who haven't completed their app this term, and the deadline's coming up. Having a quick report like that can give a quick actionable insights to increase your conversion. So with that, we are excited for our upcoming 5-Minute Friday on reports, which should be our last one, which covers what are called custom report types. And this is a little bit more advanced. So as we've gone through some of the one-on-one type of topics, custom report types is a little bit more specific to some certain use cases and scenarios, but a very, very powerful tool. So look forward to providing you that content after the new year. But with that, we thank you again from the Mobile RX and hope you guys have a great weekend.